Every villain wants something: power, revenge, survival, love. Joffrey Baratheon wanted one thing: to watch people suffer. That is it. No grand plan, no ideology, no tragic backstory that explains it all away. Just a boy with a crown and absolute power, and no one in his life who ever told him no. And that is exactly what makes him one of the greatest villains in television history. His name is Joffrey Baratheon. First of his name, King of the Andals and the First Men, Lord of the Seven Kingdoms, and the most hated character ever put on screen. Game of Thrones gave us dragons and politics and war and betrayal. But nothing made audiences react the way Joffrey did. People did not just dislike him, they despised him. They counted down the episodes. They cheered out loud when it finally happened. He was 12 years old when we first met him. Blonde, pretty, entitled in the way that only someone who has never once faced a consequence can be entitled. And from the very first scene, something was deeply wrong. Here is what made Joffrey different from every other TV villain. He had no redeeming qualities. None. Most great villains have something. A code, a cause, a moment where you almost understand them. Walter White had his pride. Tony Soprano had his love for his family. Even Cersei had her children. Joffrey had nothing. He was cruelty without purpose, sadism without logic, power without any idea what to do with it beyond using it to hurt people smaller than him. And Jack Gleeson played him so perfectly that people forgot he was acting. Gleeson was a teenager when he filmed most of the series. A quiet, thoughtful, reportedly lovely young man in real life, who somehow reached inside himself and found something so convincingly monstrous that cast members said working with him in those scenes felt genuinely uncomfortable. He retired from acting after Game of Thrones. And honestly, you understand why. When you have played the most hated character in television history at 17 years old, where exactly do you go from there? The moment that defined Joffrey forever happened in Season 1. Ned Stark. The show had spent an entire season building Ned as the hero, the honorable man, the one character you were certain would survive because stories like this need someone like him, and Joffrey had him executed. In front of his daughters, in front of the crowd, in front of everyone who thought honor and goodness were enough to protect you. It was not just shocking, it was a statement. Game of Thrones was not that kind of story. Good people did not win just because they were good. Power did not care about honor. And Joffrey, this petty, vicious, small boy with a crown, was the one who taught the audience that lesson. That execution scene changed television. It told every viewer that nobody was safe, that the rules they thought they knew did not apply, that this show would go places other shows would not. And Joffrey was the instrument of that revelation. Here is the uncomfortable truth about Joffrey Baratheon. He is not unrealistic. That is what makes him truly terrifying. History is full of Joffreys, young men handed power they did not earn and could not handle, surrounded by people too afraid or too ambitious to tell them the truth, given weapons and authority, before they developed the wisdom or empathy to use either responsibly. Joffrey did not become cruel because of some dramatic trauma. He became cruel because nobody stopped him. Because every person around him chose their own survival over his character. Because power without accountability always produces the same result. He is not a fantasy villain. He is a warning dressed in a crown. Jack Gleeson gave one of the greatest performances in television history, and almost nobody talks about it because the character was so convincing that people forgot there was a performance happening at all. That is the highest compliment you can pay an actor, and the most Joffrey thing imaginable. That even in his greatest achievement, he still does not get the credit. Subscribe to Villain Lore, new villain every week, because every story has two sides, and the villain's side is always more.